Hi, my friends. We are going to continue our journey talking about where your conventional nutrition leaves you hanging. We all have this foundation or an idea in our heads of what is the healthiest food to eat. And I kind of want to go to that foundation, shake it up, take out the things that really need to be thrown away and forgotten, and build on what's left, the good advice that you already have. So this is the modern food pyramid. I remember when I was in school, it was like this, and then like a decade ago, they changed it to this My Plate. And there is some really, really good advice on here, and there is some really, really terrible advice on here. And then there are some harsh realities about how we actually eat versus what this incorrect ideal looks like that we also need to correct. So just for simplicity's sake, this is the current advice as given generally to everybody, right? 1, focus on whole fruits. That is great advice. An apple, better than applesauce. A pear, better than canned pears. Whole food, fresh, as much as you can, right? Always working within the bounds of what's realistic for you. 2, vary your vegetables. And one thing that's really great about this is fruits and vegetables are taking up half of the plate. Yes. We get to 3 though with grains. Make half your grains whole grains. We're going to talk about that a little bit. 4, vary your protein. And then 5, this is where it gets bad. Move to low fat or no fat dairy. You guys, please forget this for pregnancy. We'll talk about that in a little bit. For now, we're going to kind of bust some myths and look at some problems that are created when we use this as our guide and give you some new rules to follow that are specific to you, specific to pregnancy, specific to building healthy babies. All right, so one big problem is carbohydrates, right? If we look at the macronutrient here, instead of fruits, vegetables, grains, you might notice that that means that 75% of your diet can turn into carbohydrates because fruits are carbs. A lot of vegetables, starchy vegetables, are mainly carbs. And then grains, whole grains, refined white grains, bread, pasta, carbs. Unfortunately, when we look at reality, when we consider vegetables, fruits, my favorite, pasta and bread, which is an extra special treat to me now, 85% of what we are actually eating as human beings is this pasta. The white, refined, super delicious, not nutritious at all, white carbs, pasta. That's kind of a problem, you guys. When we have a lot of these excessive intake of refined carbs, it leads to higher blood sugar, higher blood pressure, higher gestational weight. Moms, that's your weight. Higher fetal weight, that's baby's weight. And a lower micronutrient intake because we're replacing really nutrient-dense food with food that has had almost all the nutrition stripped out and then maybe a few things kind of added back in. It's not really a good place for us to start. So, one rule that we should follow is to eliminate refined carbs as much as possible. Now, especially during first trimester, it is normal to kind of crave white carbs as your body is changing the way you process insulin. White carbs, refined carbs. I think you know what I mean. But the fact is that women who eat more refined carbohydrates, they have an average pregnancy weight gain of about 18% higher than women who eat mainly, not totally, mainly unprocessed carbohydrates. And women who eat mainly refined carbohydrates have significantly larger babies who have a lot more higher body fat. So if you're thinking about ease of the birth, right? We're focusing here on birth. The more that you can get rid of these refined carbs, really, the easier your birth is going to be. And if we're talking about the long-term health of your baby, when women eat a lot of refined carbs, or we're having this excessive intake of carbohydrates, of refined carbohydrates, that has been linked to impaired lung development for babies and higher likelihood of catching life-threatening viral infections during childhood. So while I don't want you guys to villainize all carbs, and I don't want you guys to go into like a guilt fest if you do indulge, and the big picture choices are much more important. The accumulation of your choices over months is more important than having a little bit here or a little bit there as a treat. Very different, right? If you can, get rid of these. They're not good for you. They're not good for your baby. And you will both benefit by saying goodbye to refined carbs, replacing your carbohydrates with fresh fruit and vegetables. You don't need bread and grains really at all. We'll talk about that later. If you like grains, yes, eat the whole grain version of them. It's not moving on. Here we go. All right. Another common myth is that we need to eat low-fat foods. Less fat, better than more fat. You guys, this is wrong. There are vitamins in fat that you do not get if you don't eat the fat. We see this recommendation in the types of protein people eat, and only eating chicken breast instead of eating the dark meat too, and eating only the egg whites and throwing away the yolks, and drinking skim milk instead of whole milk or 2% milk, of eating margarine instead of butter. You guys, you can stop doing that. All those really tasty foods are good for you. Like, it's okay to add some cream to your coffee. And if you like dark meat, eat the dark meat. I was so happy when I learned this, because a lot of foods that I felt guilty eating suddenly became like, oh my God, this is like the healthiest food I could possibly eat, which was really great. Now, I do want to point out that when we're talking about fats, we're talking about fats that naturally occur in food. We're not talking about the fats that are added into food, such as like you buy French fries, you order French fries, right? They're greasy and they've been, not that kind of fat that's added in. So what vitamins are you even really missing out on? Well, one really important one is choline, which does a ton of really important things for your baby. 94% of women don't get enough choline during pregnancy, and it's not even in a lot of prenatal vitamins. Same with vitamin A. Vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin, and if you're getting rid of all your fat, you're not getting any vitamin A, and your body and your baby really, really need this. Animal foods, particularly those that are high in saturated fats, are actually really, really good sources of a ton of nutrients and vitamins that you need. Other nutrients that are limited by a low-fat diet are vitamin B12 and B6, zinc, iron, selenium, DHA. Less fat also usually means more carbs. So when we're looking at like the downside of having those highly refined carbs, this is what you're missing out on. And when you add these into your diet, typically your craving for the junk food will go down. One more really cool benefit for mothers is that mothers who incorporate whole food fats into their diet typically reduce their levels of depression and anxiety. Our fat and the saturated fat balance between it that's found in real whole foods, again, not the French fries type fried food, but in, say, dark meat and egg yolks, it helps with all of that stuff that's happening in our brains. So our mental health goes up when we incorporate a reasonable amount of that. And your baby's brain, their brain, which also needs the DHA and all of those vitamins and minerals, it is 60% fat. So you really, really, really need to incorporate some of this into your diet. Now, the problem number 3 with all the conventional wisdom, the My Plate that we looked at before, is that there is this belief that there is this optimal nutritional something up here that's a rule that's perfect for everybody in every culture, in every place, with every body, with every family history, with every genetics. And that is just not true. The fact is that every one of us, we have our own individual needs. And the cool thing about that is that we don't have to hold ourselves to a gold standard, right? We can offer some compassion. We can choose creativity, exploration, finding the right way, the right combination of foods for us. That is why I highly encourage you to bring in a lot of intuitive eating, making peace with all kinds of food, listening to your body's sense of feeling full or hungry, and building sustainability into your diet, and your life. I know preparing food can be really hard. There's also really ways to simplify a healthy and well-rounded diet. So finding what works for you, choosing foods that make you feel good, and recognizing when a food makes you feel bad, finding balance in the fact that we're growing here, right? And it's okay to start exactly where we start. It's okay to take baby steps. In fact, we should totally let go of judgment so that we can move freely and have some feelings of play and exploration and fun and joy when it comes to eating and enjoying our food. So most moms that I know can find pretty quickly when they start tracking what they're eating and paying attention to their mood and their energy levels, it becomes like, whoa, I know exactly what I need to eat now. And you get some motivation from that as well. So it's really cool when you start to see what works exactly for you. So the foundation of intuitive eating, it leads us to question the rules and to listen more to the individual. Above all, follow your intuition and eat how your body feels the best. All right, next video, we're going to talk more about amounts, creating a diet, and building more on what should that diet look like. We'll fill that in a little bit more. I can't wait to see you there, and we'll talk again soon.